Okay, so welcome everyone to this session, and we are here to present an initiative called Atlantic Autonomous Robotic Consortium. Are you here? Okay. That join for the moment four organizations: Fórum Oceano, the Portuguese Blue Economic Cluster, Air Center, Plocan, and TMA Blue Tech, the San Diego cluster, and we intend to establish a large Atlantic area for testing robotics and sensors between Portugal, Azores, Madeira, and Canarian Island. We have four presenters, four members of the panel today with us. We have João Tasso Souza from Air Center and the Faculty of Engineer of Porto, LSTS, his lab. We have Carlos Barrera from Plocan, from Canarias, from the Plataforma Oceánica de Canarias. And we have Michael Jones. I believe your title now is chairman of the TMA Blue Tech, and also he was for the ones that were in the panel before, was the big figure behind the creation of Blue Tech Cluster Alliance. So this is an initiative that excites us all. We have a presentation. We will talk along the presentation, and I ask João to take the floor and start presenting this Aarc to everyone. You can on.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Just getting used to this setup. So, bom dia, good morning. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about this initiative, Atlantic Autonomous Robotic Consortium. These are the founding members, TMA Blue Tech, you've heard about it, and I'll say more about it soon. Fórum Oceano, Frederico is here from Fórum Oceano. Air Center, I'm here wearing a cap from the Air Center, but I'm from Porto University in Portugal. And also Plocan, we have Carlos Barrera from Plocan here. And, okay, what's the idea? And nothing like starting with the geography, with a map, because I think this is quite relevant, and this explains the reason why we are here. So if you look at the map, assume there's a point. Okay, okay. I won't touch this. There's continental Portugal. You have the Madeira Islands there in the middle, and then further south you have the Canary Islands. And then if you go further west, you have some of the Azores Islands. Not all of those are represented there, but it really doesn't matter. The important observation, or the important observations are, first of all, we have some robotic centers here in Porto and in Plocan. We also kind of are planning to be very inclusive and to have robotic centers in the Azores, in Lisbon, and in Madeira Islands. There are already some investments going on right now. And then if you look at this, you think that, hey, if you look at these red lines, no spot is more than 500 miles from assistance. And then if you keep in mind that, for example, the Portuguese Navy, as well as other ships operate in this region, you can think about very interesting synergies that would make operations in these areas much more effective. So this was the observation behind some of the discussions that we had back in 2020, if I got it right, in San Diego. And this is what Aarc is about. So let's be a bit more precise. First of all, going back to geography, So you see this red line that basically kind of has to do with the entrance to the Mediterranean. And the goal of Aarc is to create and manage a unique set of long-distance testing courses and facilities for use by companies, government agencies, and NGOs from around the world. Several attributes: distributed, coordinated operations and support centers in the Eastern Atlantic, as well as in the Azores, Canary Islands, and in the continent. Strategically, this is quite relevant because it sits at the entrance to the Mediterranean. We are planning for an operations center that will operate 24/7. And then again, we are talking about UAVs, USVs, and UUVs, and why not partnerships with people that are already kind of flying small sats. If you want to do this, and that's what we want to do, and we've been doing this for some time now, you should think about interoperability, right? Because if you have one asset from this vendor, another asset from this vendor, typically they don't talk among them. So, and it's also very important to have a sort of a uniform access to all of these platforms. And this is something that we've been working on in some other projects. I can talk more about that soon. The other observation is that if you take advantage of geography, no location is too far to preclude assistance or recovery. We are also interested in persistence and residence. And of course, there will be costs, but the key is to promote information sharing by corporate users with scientists. Another important thing is that you can start being ambitious. And by being ambitious, it means that, for example, you can think about a repetitive course and taking samples periodically in terms of ocean observation that are quite relevant to study the ocean. And keep in mind that this is somewhat different from, for example, what foundations are doing. And I remember having this discussion with Marcia McNutt, the president of National Academy of Sciences in the US, because she mentioned, let's say, these cruises are very nice, but if you don't return to the same region over and over again, basically you're not learning much about this region. Of course, we want also to provide access to students, testing operations, exercises, and actually it lends itself, and I already alluded to this, to the intersection of blue tech and space tech. As of today, for example, we have some of our friends from Norway are flying small sats in this region using hyperspectral cameras. And then again, we can think of combining operations, and this is quite interesting and new. So in terms of vessels, what we're talking about, lots of different vessels, and more the merrier. So surface vessels, you can think about, and again, in terms of communications, satcoms, whatever, gliders, UAVs. And we want to put forward a new organizational model, and we have a cooperative mindset at Aarc. First of all, we would like to provide a single point of entry for clients to use the network. We want to leverage existing facilities and also develop new facilities to support all of these operations. We want to coordinate programs across the network. Of course, closest on water support and recovery is quite relevant. And also to work on ocean observation programs, bridging science and technology. And then again, we want to do this in a triple helix framework, so academia, industry, and policy makers. And of course, public-private partnerships will make lots of sense. And then again, phase technology development programs. If you look at this right now, you can think, hey, this is too ambitious. It looks like a kind of sort of a PowerPoint engineering kind of product. But the reason why we are proposing this and coming up with this is that, let's say, between all of us, we have lots of experience with operations of manned vehicles, large-scale exercises involving, for example, over 1,000 people, involving something like 22 navies, crossings coming from, let's say, Cabo Verde, going into the Canary Islands and then going into the Mediterranean. So, and we base all of what we're proposing here on that experience. Benefits, the idea is to do this in a very inclusive way, to bring together an array of stakeholders, including academia, government, industry, military, NGOs, and to promote ocean robotics related collaboration in a blue voice for the region internationally. And of course, by doing this, users will be able to effectively test vessels and sensors via unique network of facilities and services. So, of course, we have to be, we are ambitious, but we're also pragmatic. Can't hear you.
Wait, you want to do a question?
Sorry? Nothing against it. Okay, yeah.
Okay. João, maybe at this moment of presentation, since you were talking about the importance of networking, the ambitious, maybe we will open the floor here to the other members of the panel.
That's the idea.
And so we have Michael Jones from San Diego and Carlos Barrera from Plocan, Canarias. And I ask first comment to Carlos, since you are operating in your platform some testing of these kind of AUVs and your platform, the add value of an extending network of facilities using, let's say, the Macaronesia region as a test site for this kind of technology. Maybe a first comment. And also, we have these two types of organizations, more technological, scientific, like Air Center and Plocan, and we have the clusters and the triple helix more in the Forum Oceano and TMA. So maybe a first comment from you, Carlos.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. As Federico said, I'm Carlos Barrera, representing Plocan, member of this initiative, Aarc initiative. And yeah, one of our main contributions to this initiative is precisely to provide our experience mainly in the Canary Islands with already several companies within the framework of specific European projects where different marine robotics has been tested. I'm talking here specifically on autonomous surface vehicles and underwater gliders, but not, of course not limited to that. And the idea is to extend these capabilities in the context of the experience in the Canary Islands to the rest of the Macaronesian region. So as Joao said, trying to engage and put together the different capabilities from the triple helix context, some academia, already existing companies in this specific field, and also a very, very important aspect here, it's to create or at least to improve the regulatory framework to operate in a routine mode this type of operations. So probably most of you are familiar that there is not a specific regulatory framework, and sometimes this type of activities it's basically needed to have this framework in order to operate in a routine mode this type of technologies. And from the second part of the question, so definitely to get involved in the cluster domain, so that brings in some way a better approach, a more efficient approach to cooperate and to speed up, especially I'm talking about here for companies, to speed up technology in order to reach the market in a more efficient way, and of course try to avoid or minimize risk in what refers to the dead valley. So many people knows about the dead valley in terms of TRL and things like that. So then clustering all all this type of knowledge, some academia, companies, and the regulatory framework, so brings a better domain, a better ecosystem in order to be more efficient and to reach the goals more quickly and in a safe manner.
Thank you, Carlos. And now to Michael, regarding and you in your double hat, because you also have a company, of technology company, the add value of having for a company an organization that it's like one shop or one focal point where a company who wants to test their equipment goes and have a set of facilities and services all together in under Aarc. So I think it's if you want to comment on that and on the governance of Aarc.
Sure. Can people hear me? Yes? No? Can you hear me?
You have to connect on. Yeah. Okay.
Turned it on.
No, it's
Yeah,
on.
it's on.
Can you hear me?
I hope people want to hear you because they have interesting things to say. So, but in fact, what we intend here is to bring together a network of actors in this geography that allow us to expand, let's say, the limits of the testing, and as João was saying, to not be so far away from land if you will need to recover your technology. So I don't want, John, maybe you move a little bit further when we wait, and then we go back to Michael. Yeah, you go ahead in your presentation, and then we.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'll do that. Um, so basically here the challenge is to have a sustained presence in the ocean. And keep in mind that it's a huge chunk of the ocean. And then when you do that, you can think about lots of different applications. You can have fisheries, marine extraction of oil and gas, maritime transport. And you can go one step further, which is if you have unmanned vehicles operating in this region, other vessels operating in this region or so, you can start thinking about some synergies that are quite relevant and very much in line with other initiatives that are, let's say, have been put forward recently. One of them is the Digital Ocean initiative, in which basically the idea is to bring all of these assets together, and by combining what those can do, you can do much better. So basically it means doing more, not with less, but with the same. So, of course, this is quite ambitious. We know that. You have to work a lot on training. You have to work a lot on providing uniform access to these things. And you also have to work a lot on models of access. One example from a previous project, EU project that I was coordinating, the H2020 EU Marine Robots. Carlos was also one of the key members. In addition to making our systems more operable, the idea was also to provide access for free to people from, say, basically around the world. So we were providing access to robotics infrastructures that could range from small AUVs to big ROVs to HROVs or so. And we did this through open calls, and we had over 50 projects that were successfully proposed by people coming from New Zealand, South America, Asia, and of course Europe. A bit more about our operations, some of the vehicles that we've been using. Then again, operations in the Azores, you can see that from Pico. And this goes back to 2015, and this alludes to something that I also wanted to highlight here, which is we've been in touch with NASA, in this case with NASA Ames, for a long time. And then when they realized that we were operating here, they said, hey, we'd like to send some people there and would also like to basically partner with you and to get access to this data and try to correlate these with other measurements. Then again, now going back to what Pocan has been doing. So Pocan has been playing with, in this case, sail drones. You can see a sail drone there. You can see multiple gliders there, and also surface vehicles. So then again, we are building a lot on our experience with the operation of these assets. So a few words about the founding partners, and I guess probably nothing like having the, because I'm just wearing a kind of a cap from Air Center. I'm from Porto University, but nothing like, let's say, having some words from Forum Oceano, Pocan, TMA Blue Tech. So if you can say a few words, that would be great.
So I will give first word to Michael.
All
Now
right,
that
can
the
you hear me
technical
now?
problems
Yes, okay, good.
are solved, so you can do both.
So I think that Aarc is came really out of the relationship we have as part of the Blue Tech Cluster Alliance. If we weren't all working together from the past, we wouldn't have really come up with this idea. So this is if you will, a manifestation that came out of the Blue Tech Cluster Alliance. And Joao and I were having drinks at Mary Monk's house. Walter Monk, some of you may know, is one of the world's most renowned oceanographers, Austrian-born, but live in the United States. And so as we were thinking about it, we were thinking, what does industry need and what does academia need? And one thing that we found was there are no places that really where there's a one-stop shop to be able to go and pull together multiple assets like Flocan, like the incredible robotics center that is up at the University of Porto, and then take advantage to build further with the Portuguese Navy, with what they want to do in Madeira and in the Azores to create centers so that companies could bring assets and have them go short distances or long distances and work with these existing centers that can help decrease the amount of cost and have support in areas they wouldn't otherwise have support. So the whole idea of Aarc was to build on what existed and to continue to grow, and it wouldn't have happened without really the Blue Tech Cluster Alliance and then all of us knowing each other and working together. So Aarc represents a hopeful, because we're still in formation in some regards, opportunity to build something really spectacular, I think, for the world. Why is San Diego involved in this? You know, TMA Blue Tech. It's because we in the United States, unfortunately, don't really have the interface with Europe and some of the opportunities and the funding that all of you have benefited from. And so our goal was to make sure that both US companies, but us globally, would have a receptive audience and build something that was useful for companies from Korea, from the United States, from Canada, from Mexico, from anywhere in the world to work in this very special location. So we were really proud to help conceive the idea and pull together these partners, and I think it's something that over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be very powerful.
Okay, thank you, Michael. From our side, we are the Portuguese Blue Economy Cluster for Oceano, and we are interesting for all the things art represents and add value in technology, in capacitating people in this technology, because it's also a part important of Aarc, and to put together the triple helix and Portugal, as you saw in the former presentation and as you saw here, has a long history in ocean and sea, and now we are facing new challenges, and we have a huge economic exclusive zone that will also bring challenges for us to explore or to in a sustainable way, not to explore and to maintain and to conserve. An Aarc, for instance, for marine protected areas, like in Madeira, the Selvagem Islands, and so on, will be for sure a very interesting tool for doing that. Um, Also, um, the words, I can echo the words from Michael, because the fact of we already networked before in the Blue Tech Cluster Alliance uh, facilitate this kind of idea and putting this together in this emerging and challenging sector. And Carlos, if you want to say something about Blocan, also
Well,
but you already said it, I think.
yeah,
But
but just let me point out something that could be
yes,
also important to know, that here we are basically approaching two main domains within the context of the marine robotics, but there is the public or the more research-focused applications, several of them, several domains, but also don't forget about what João mentioned before, so the domain of the Navy. So then there are two huge sectors with different domains inside, or two huge domains with different sectors inside. And I think not everybody has the possibility from own expertise put together in a specific place and bringing to the rest of the world these capabilities for further applications and developments. So I think it's also important to highlight it, because normally we are talking about in a specific domain that could be from public applications, companies, private sector, etc., but not the Navy. And of course, Navy, they are using and developing also really key technology that many times they come back or they apply for the public applications. And then bring together these two sectors, these two domains. So I think it's very important, and one of the main things that Aarc is providing in this context.
very well said.
Can I add
You
something?
wa- yes, of course.
Well, I'm not supposed to be on this panel. I'm on the next panel. But the reason I'm here is the gentleman from Madeira, Rui Caldeira, they are becoming a member of Aarc. And unfortunately, something happened, so he could not be with us. So I stepped into his spot. But I think it's important to show that the idea of Aarc continues to grow. And it's bringing all these pieces together. And I know, João, through your very close connections with the Portuguese Navy, that there also is an effort to create a robotics center here in the Lisbon area. So suddenly you'll have Porto in the north, you have Blocan in the south, you have the Azores in the west, and in the next panel, Miguel Bello, who is the president of the Air Center. In this case, João is representing the Air Center. So you have, although we're not all up here, we are all working together in multiple ways. And I think that reinforcement of opportunity and effort is very important. So Madeira, where I am sitting in the spot of Rui Caldeira, is very important because it was one of the building blocks for Aarc. So what we've been doing is putting together the concept originally, then the various partners, and then as we begin to raise the money, and as industry says, yes, this is important to us, we expect that we will provide value through training, like Blocan does, through using of these facilities. And again, this one-stop shop, I think, becomes very important. So you asked me to talk about subsea sail. I will talk a little bit about that in the next panel. We make a unique, patented, long-duration sailing vessel. It also uses solar. And we need a place where we can go. And so I know how important it is. We're in San Diego. It's a lovely spot, but next stop is Hawaii. That's a hell of a long ways. So to have something that's less than 500 miles away is very important. So the concept of Aarc, and by the way, one of the things that makes Aarc so interesting is that we call it Aarc because it is like an arc, and it sits right around the middle of Gibraltar and the entrance to the Mediterranean. And guess who's interested in who goes in and out of the Mediterranean? Navies are interested in that. And many other organizations are interested in that. So having the Aarc here has both military, it has economic, it has technological reasons. So this is a really unique spot, I think, to be doing what we're doing.
Thank you, Michael. Maybe you can now continue or add something if you want.
Actually, I was about to ask Michael if you wanted to say something about the potential partners, because we've been in touch with lots of different people here in Europe, but not only in Europe. So if you could say something about this, because I know you're more eloquent than I am.
I don't know about the eloquence. So I don't want to look backwards, but I can barely see over here. I think
I can fix this for you.
I think the opportunity here for us is, and the word inclusive is very important. Whether it's our friends in Norway from the Norwegian cluster who have companies that are members that would take advantage of this, or it's Plocan, which is known around the world for the training that you do. As we put these pieces together, we have been talking with various agencies, NOAA, NASA, the US Navy. C-Trek is over there with us. They're very interested in this. They're one of the companies, my company, Subsea Sail, Team A Blue Tech, as we've talked about. But there's probably another 20 that we've talked to that have said they're interested. And our goal is for more and more companies to learn about what we're doing, and as we create, if you will, a waiting list, as we put our pieces together, I think we will start doing these longer, middle range and longer range testing. And again, I know that we at Subsea Sail are very interested in this. So as the pieces come together in Madeira, in the Azores, including the existing pieces, and then with the military in Lisbon, the 5 important pieces will come together. And that's when we really, I think, take off. I think Aarc is in that formation stage. So we're happy that you are here to learn. Some of you may be users. Some of you may know people that could be users. Some of you may have an interest in being a partner with us. I know one of those is the National Maritime Center in the UK, the NOC, National Oceanography Center. They're very interested in what we're doing. And as we go functional, I'm sure they're going to be a big partner with us. So there's a lot of people that are interested. We now need to move forward to put this in place.
Okay, and now I think just a few concluding remarks and observations. I was told that we have 5 minutes. Is that correct? Okay. So we've been active. Of course, the COVID didn't help in helping us taking off, but this was not necessarily bad. A few observations. First of all, the field is exploding, and right now what you see around the world is really changing the way we are perceiving robotics in the ocean. So, first observation. The second one, and going back to the map, is that this map is also relevant for, if this goes forward, okay, is also relevant for another reason, which is we also allow or enable incremental testing. First of all, you can do it around the islands. And for example, if you think about the islands in the Azores, there's this huge span of water that, let's say, you can operate there quite easily, and there's always land in let's say, very close. Then, after doing that, if you want to do it incrementally, then you can go into the open ocean, and still, you will be at most 500 miles from assistance. So this is another important thing. And finally, another observation, which also has to do with the way things are changing. They are changing so fast. And recently, I was in Sweden. I went for okay. Hello? I went to this review meeting of the Swedish Marine Robotics Center, and then there was this woman from from their navy, and then she was presenting what she had learned about marine robotics or so, and then I asked her, hey, but are you really ready for what's coming? So in terms of number of assets, even in terms of the way we'll be using ships in the future, I don't think that's the case. And actually, I don't think that nobody is really kind of has this kind of very clear idea of what will happen in the future in terms of maritime operations, manned assets, unmanned assets, kind of this huge kind of complexity. And I think that one of the ways to basically get a sort of kind of a better understanding of what we can do in the future is through experimentation. And this is exactly why we are proposing open ocean experimentation on a sort of a sustainable basis. And I think that this is pretty much what we had to say. So then again, there's a website, you can go there, you can get in touch with us, and it will be great to have your feedback and inputs. And I remember, I don't know, something like 15 years ago, so I met Sylvia Earle in this meeting or so. Then we had a few discussions, and towards the end I went to say goodbye, and she said, hey, see you underwater somewhere. And I guess that in this case, I think we would like to see you somewhere there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, João. We are now open for questions of the audience, if anyone wants to make one.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, so my name's Jan Przadatek. I'm Director of Technologies at Lloyd's Register Foundation. It's true that there's a lot of technology being developed and it needs test sites, and we don't really know where this is heading, as you just said. I'd like to ask, as part of your Aarc project program, how are you looking at assurance of this technology? Because you can develop it, but once you get to the point you have to assure it, everything can suddenly come to a grinding halt. So are you working with anybody as part of your partnership that is looking at how you assure this technology so it can be deployed in real life?
Sorry, can you be a bit more precise? You're talking about insurance or assurance?
Assurance. How do you make sure it is okay, it's safe, that it will meet regulations when they come in, that sort of thing?
Okay, that's a very good and fair question. So we've been in touch with people working on that. And there are several aspects to that. One has to do with standards, and then again, there are a few standards coming up, especially in regards to interoperability, but the fact in the matter is that we are not there yet. Then in what regards, for example, core regs and operations in restricted airspaces or so, we've also been in touch in part, and Dan Carlos may also say something about that, in touch with, there's this EDA project, SARAMS, which is exactly about that. So there they have lawyers working on this or so. Then in this exercise that we've been co-organizing with the Portuguese Navy, which takes place south of Lisbon in Sesimbra and Troia, there we are addressing all of these issues, not from, let's say, kind of looking into the next few years, but looking into what will be done in the next few months, because the exercise takes place in September, and there we'll have lots of questions on how to handle a huge number of assets in a kind of a small region, and how to go about operating in ocean areas that are not segregated, and how to go about, for example, interacting with the fishermen, with the fishermen communities and all of that. So we are doing that. You can say, hey, this is not very systematic. True, but we are doing that one step at a time. And I'm pretty sure that Carlos may also want to say
Yeah.
something about that.
Yeah, just basically to add in this line that something quite new, and also it could be considered the umbrella in these regards. That it's the recently ended scoping exercise from IMO, so last year, it's as far as I remember. So because there is clearly an interest and a strategy worldwide about the autonomous navigation. Not only about this type of assets, so underwater gliders or autonomous surface vehicles. So the world is just starting to be prepared for the near future or midterm future for the real autonomous navigation. So then that means we need a common framework, a common strategy and regulatory framework, sorry, for to operate this kind of assets. So big cargo ships or small autonomous surface vehicles. But this is a proof that this sector is of interest and of course needs a regulatory framework for local, regional and international scope.
So thank you. Thank you, Carlos and João. I think there's another question. More two questions.
Hi, thank you so much for that. So my name's Julie Angus. I'm the CEO of Open Ocean Robotics. We produce solar-powered boats for persistent data collection. So I'm very grateful for the creation of something like this because similar to what Michael said, if we go offshore, you know, the next landfall is Japan. So being able to test it is very important. But my question has to do with the involvement of the Portuguese Navy, and I'm just wondering for companies that, you know, participate in Aarc, how is there the potential to, you know, potentially get their technology, you know, valued by the Navy or, you know, to work with them to better understand their needs?
Yes, that's also a very good question and a very important one. So we started this exercise in 2010, and since then we've been developing this very close relation with the Portuguese Navy. For example, we have access to manned submarines for experimentation. But the Portuguese Navy has been very forward-looking, and so in addition to this exercise in which, so it's an invitation-only exercise, but it's very easy to invite people from other countries to join and participate on that. In addition to that, the Portuguese Navy started several initiatives 2 years ago. First one was they started this experimentation cell, so there's a bunch of Navy, let's say, officers from the Portuguese Navy that do exactly that. They go about trying out different tools and technologies, and they also started another one which relates to something that Michael was saying. So south of Lisbon, something like 60 kilometers south of Lisbon, they established a new test site which will have facilities for people to stay there for, let's say, several days. We'll have lab space. You'll have seabed nodes. You'll have multiple assets, and definitely one of the goals of this center is to attract people, then again, from all over the world, not necessarily military, to test stuff there. And they also help to basically go about testing plans and making sure that there's some sort of certification in some sense. Thank you.
Thank you, João. We have one more question. We are running out of time, but still time for answering you
Yeah.
both.
Okay, hi. Uwe Hagesetter from GC Ocean Technology in Norway. Very interesting. Are you working on wireless underwater communication? And the reason I'm asking is that we are part of an industry-driven research center which are kind of looking into that to achieve higher degree of autonomous solutions. So I plan to connect you if you're working heavily on these issues.
That is great, and actually I'm glad you alluded to Norway. I also wear a cap from NTNU in Norway, so I was there 3 weeks ago, so we've been working with them for a while. And I'm also part of another advisory board to SFI Ocean based in Bergen, if I got it right.
That's the one.
Okay, I'm part of the advisory board. And we have some experience with ACOMs. We deploy ACOMs quite often, but we don't develop those. So definitely, I think there's a huge potential for synergies along those lines.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. We ran out of time. I want to thank Carlos, Michael, João for a very comprehensive presentation of Aarc. I hope you find your time useful and interesting presentations. You have more information in our website, and if you need it, you can contact us, and we will be around so we can have also a chat. Thank you very much.
And this discussion will continue at 11
At
o'clock
11, yes.
with the C space, because that's really, a continuation of this whole concept. So please come back at 11.
You were great, Michael, ending it. Thank you.
Thank you.